A fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone.
Alrighty, Tiger fans, it's Thursday night, and this is part 2 of the Richmond Tier list exercise. And I'm joined again by Jordan from Centre Half Bench, who joined me for the first iteration of this, where we had a crack at doing this. So it's been a long time between drinks, but I'm really glad we're going to sit back down and revisit this and re-rank what we did from the first time. But how are you, mate? How you been?
Yeah, very, very good. It's always good to hear that Richmond song that you just had in the intro, mate. Hearing that loud as day is very, very good. I'm very happy to be here. We get to finish off the tier ranking that we did, a couple months ago, and it's gonna be good.
We get to update. Before we go any further, I want to say big congratulations for hitting 10K subs as well, mate. That is a monster effort on your channel. So make sure, if you haven't got around the channel yet, go and give it a like and subscribe. Amazing stuff, mate. You must be pretty chuffed with that.
Mate, I'm very, very happy. You know, I think I worked hard, but just to hit that 10K subs, like I think 10-year-old me would be jumping up and down thinking he's like this massive YouTuber. But I don't know. I just think, it feels weird. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I don't know. It's just I'm very happy. I think is the only way I can put it, that I got 10K.
Judging by your video, it almost caught you a little bit off guard. Like you knew it was coming, but I don't think you knew it was happening when it happened.
No, I was very, I knew I was going to get it, but it just, when I saw the number, I was like, holy crap. Like that's a big number. Like I remember like the school that I went to, the high school, had, I think 1.7K kids. And mate, when you see them all in a fire drill all together on that one oval, massive, right? And I think that 5 times that has subbed to me.
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. That was the first thing that came to my head, is five fire drills at my high school.
That's awesome. You're smashing it. The Tigers, what have you made of our season so far? We've obviously just finished the bye and we've got the doggies this week, but would you give what you've seen so far a pass mark? Is there some highs and lows, and what have you liked, disliked in certain players and whatnot?
Yeah. If I had to like rank our season out of 10, I'm very much on the optimistic side of like, I'd probably give it like an 8. Like I think we've actually done really well. I think we've genuinely exceeded expectations. Like when you think about it, all us Tiger fans knew that we were going to get a win or two at least somewhere. But considering there were experts, I should say, you know, on radio and all that were literally having us win no games, is to think that we've already got 3 of them. And I mean, one of them was against Carlton, which I think, in my opinion, as a Richmond fan, one of the best wins I have ever seen in my life. So happy with the wins that we've got. I think the young core's been really good. I think we've randomly found a lot of really good role players this year, which I didn't think was something that people had us really doing coming into the season. And I think a couple of those role players we're going to be ranking, you know, a little bit higher today on our tier list, because some of them are playing really good. Yeah,
no, exactly right. This is a good call from Massimo. You're bigger than Gold Coast now. There you go. You got a bigger membership base than the Suns. That's a great way to look at it.
It's set.
What about some of the youngsters?
KFC comment, bro. I swear someone just commented about me getting cut. There we go.
You can upgrade from KFC now.
What is there an upgrade of KFC? There's nothing wrong with the Zinger box.
No, and some tenders. No, you can't go wrong with that.
No, 100%.
What about some of the youngsters we've seen come through? I know on our tier list, which we'll bring up shortly, we didn't actually rank the youngsters at the start of the year because we obviously didn't know a hell of a lot about them. But now that we do know a little bit more about them, what have you thought of like your Sam Lawlers and Jonty Fall, Luke Traynor, and players like that? Have any of them impressed you more than others? Yeah, well, I think, you know, there's been a lot of talk of our young core. And I mean, I wouldn't say they've been the biggest, you know, rises of expectation from my opinion. I mean, Sam Lawler, some of the stuff we're seeing him do is crazy, right? Yeah. But as the pick number 1, you're going to have some type of expectation that he's going to do pretty well.
the key forwards have been all right. Again, there's nothing that's, to me, fully jumping off the page. I mean, they're so young. Like at 18 years old, I didn't even know what a girl was. So to think that they're out here playing AFL and they're doing really well, while they're at it, they're the ones that you kind of expected what you're seeing. But I think if I had to pick one that's really jumping off, I mean, Luke Traynor, to me, like, I think he looks like an absolute star. Like, he hasn't been able to do anything in the moments that he's played forward or wing. But man, like, he looks like he's going to be such a good backman going forward. And I'm happy they're moving him up the ground, because the reality is our backline is stacked right now. Like, I think our backline's really good. Yeah. And I think they're giving him a taste of what to expect, if he does have to move up the ground and he's matched up on a wingman, or if he's moved up really, up the ground and he's, matched up on someone else like a midfielder. He's learning absolutely every different facet of the game right now. And in 2 or 3 years' time, when Broady's retired, etc., he is going to really, really fit into that role as a good third or fourth tall, I think, on the team.
So you reckon long-term he's a defender? That's where you would have him long-term?
Yeah, 100%. Richmond have him as a defender long-term. They just know our backline is. I mean, I think our backline's above average. Everything else is probably pretty below average. And you just can't get a crack in the backline right now. So they're itching.
It makes sense. I mean, I heard Uze in his press conference today. Someone was asking about Jaden Short with him coming back in a couple of weeks. Would he go back into the backline? And even Uze said on Jaden Short that, well, the backline's pretty settled at the moment, so may have to find another role, which I know a lot of us have speculated on. So I tend to agree with you that if it's set like that, then there's no harm in giving Traynor exposure in other parts of the ground. I don't mind him as a winger, but I tend to agree that long-term, once some of those other defenders do retire, he's definitely going to feel the big void down there. But yeah, he looks super. He's just, he's a competitive animal, and I love the way he goes about it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we'll bring up the tier list. Yeah, Boston replacement. Well, there's Boston and Broad. I mean, Gibkiss is the other one who's on the verge of coming back shortly too. I think a lot of us forget how highly touted he was as a junior. I was reading his draft profile the other day, and he was ranked, the number 1 intercept defender in the whole of the draft. So if he can get back to doing that type of stuff, that would be a pretty big win for us too.
Yeah, well, he was dominating Carlton before the ACL injury. I think people seem to forget that at halftime, I think, weren't we up by like 20 points or something like that? And he was killing. I think he was on Mackay or someone. He was killing them. And as soon as he went down, I think our other key back at the time, whoever that was, went down. Tyler Young, maybe. Yeah, that's when we lost that game a couple of years ago, or a year ago. That was, really bad loss.
Yeah, he's going to be super when he comes back. We'll pull up the tier list. So this is where we finished in the preseason. We did the initial tier list. So for those who are tuning in, welcome firstly. But the premise of the tier list was A tier was like absolute lock, best 22, not moving. B tier was typically best 22, but could come in and out. C tier was kind of fluctuating in and out. And D tier was not anywhere near best 22. And obviously we got too soon to rank, which a lot of the young kids fell into just because we obviously hadn't seen them play. And there's a couple of other people there too that, whilst we hadn't seen them play, it wasn't necessarily their first year on the list. So we might have to make a call on them one way or another. But we'll start at the very top of the A tier. Nick Vlosten, Tim Taranto, Nankervis, Nathan Broad. Are you happy with them all staying in the A tier, or do you foresee any movements of someone shifting back a notch or two?
In my opinion, I don't think there should be I wouldn't put any change from that A tier. Are we moving players yet, or are we going to go down the list and then move them in? Because there might be another player who may move up. I'm not sure yet. Yeah,
no, we can start moving, but so you don't want to move anyone from A? We reckon they're locked and loaded?
I wouldn't. I think that is you know what? Nathan Broad's first half of the year was really good, but it's the first time I think in his career where he's like started to drop off a bit. But I don't know if that's enough to move him out.
I reckon he's clinging in. He still had some pretty good performances in other games. He'd be the only one I would have a question mark over, but I still think on the premise of him being best 22, I do think still at this stage he's probably still a lock. But yeah, Voston's had a ripper year. Taranto, I mean, between he and Hopper have been our best two midfielders, and Nankervis has done Nankervis things. So I'm happy to leave them in the A's. So we'll jump over to the B's. We'll start off Jacob Hopper. What do you reckon about Hopper?
See, that was the one where I'm like, is he an A-tier player right now?
I think based on the criteria that we had, he would be jumping across to an A tier. He has been in career best form, the fittest he's ever been. And I know we probably all moan a little bit about how many centre bounces him and Taranto attend versus some other players. But he's been winning shitloads of the ball and has probably been in our best for a lot of weeks. So I wouldn't be against him being in the A tier based on the criteria. Yeah,
well, also, like, I've seen projections of our best and fairest right now, and there are projections that have him winning it. So I mean, I would move him. I think he gets moved, gets the promotion.
He gets promoted. First promotion of the night. Jacob Hopper, welcome to the A team. No, I think that's fair and reasonable. A few people in chat seem to agree. Hopper in tier 1. Yeah, agree. He's just had too good of a year to not warrant that promotion, which we needed. Because Dion Prestia, this is a really tough one, isn't it? He's obviously missed the best part of the first half of the year, but the games he's come back and played, he's been doing pretty well. I mean, bar that maybe second quarter of the Sydney game, but if you look at the GWS game, 31 touches, a couple of goals, it was as good of a return as you could hope for. I don't know whether that's enough to go into the A category. Probably not enough sustained performance, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd keep him in B. I think. Well, I mean, his first game back was generational. It was like watching prime LeBron or something. Like, that's how good Dion Prestia genuinely was. I wouldn't move him anywhere at this point. I mean, it's too early to tell. Like, you could also make the case that if he gets injured again, like, you may be looking to even move him down because of the lack of consistency to be able to play has just been no good. So I would just keep him in B. I think that's pretty safe right now with him.
I think we need him in the 22, but you'd want to see a bigger body of work at the higher level to put him into the A, but he's definitely not worthy of a C. Like, if he's still going to get picked ahead of all the other guys. Jaden Short, who's obviously been missing the last few weeks with various types of knee, foots, and calf issues. He just hasn't had the year I don't think we had hoped he was going to have.
Yeah, started off really strong. And I mean, like, to me, I think he's a curious case right now, because do you remember, I think, was it last year or the year before? Do you remember when Dylan Grimes had a mysterious, like, wrist injury or something when he was playing really, really bad? And he was listed as like a 1 week on the injury list, but he kept missing more and more weeks. And I think fan speculation started to come out that he just wasn't getting picked, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jaden Short was on a 1 week, what was it? Knee injury, calf injury, whatever it was, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And don't get me wrong, players have setbacks, but he looked pretty fine at training the other day. And Uze just said that he might have to return back in the VFL. So I don't know if Jaden Short is currently getting picked right now, because the reality is players like Caleb Smith, who I haven't been that big of a fan on until now, have done absolutely nothing wrong to warrant being dropped. For a guy who was really, really out of form in Jaden Short, to me, I think there's a big chance he's not even getting picked right now. So to me, he automatically gets moved down, I'd say, to the C tier.
I agree. And I chuckled before when you were talking about the being out of the game and missing extra weeks, because I actually sent a message to some of the other guys from the Monday night show. And I said, tinfoil hat time. This was maybe 3 weeks ago. And I said that I feel like that maybe the issue with him is not as bad as what it could be, but it's more to do with the fact they can't justify removing Sam Banks from the role because he smashed it week after week. Then a few people said, no, he's actually sore and whatever. And he might be. But it was interesting today to hear Uze say that the back line settled and that Shorty will have to probably look at a different position, which I'm okay with. I don't mind him coming back in if he's playing half forward. I think it adds a bit of experience there. He's obviously a 60-meter plus kick for goal, and it leaves the back line settled. And so I'm okay with that, and I think that's where he's probably going to have to slot back in.
Well, like, I mean, Yeah, it is. It is a very strange situation right now with him. And I mean, I think I said this on your last show that I really haven't liked anything that I saw from Caleb Smith. But I think it was like 4 weeks ago or so, he had a really good turning point game where it was the first time he actually showed a lot of stuff. And I don't think he's really put a bad foot forward. And I just wonder if at Richmond right now, they are thinking if we give this guy a game every week, like we did with Seth Campbell last year, could he maybe jump into next year with like a Seth Campbell level, growth in that off season to the point where he could develop into being a pretty good player. So I think that is a lot of the thinking as well on why Jaden Shaw is not getting a gig. He's not going to get a game over Sam Banks right now. He's playing really good footy.
100%. Yeah, agree. There's a bit to play out there for sure.
Yeah.
Tom Lynch, obviously still an ultra important player for us structurally, isn't hitting the scoreboard like he used to, but I don't think we're expecting him to either. Did look a little bit tired towards the end of the Swans game. I can't see him going up to A, definitely not. I don't think he's going back to C. He almost feels like a stay in B tier, I reckon.
Yeah. I think if he was on a different team like Hawthorn, like if he was on Hawthorn right now, I think he'd be having a much better season. But you watch this guy get triple teamed and you feel genuinely bad for the bloke. Like I'm sitting there and I'm just like, why? Like they know that Jonty Fall and whoever our other key forward would be, Thomas Sims, I guess. Both of the key defenders just peel off those guys and they go and run at Tom Lynch when the ball's coming in. And yeah, it's just unfair. You can't not, I don't think you can rank him in C because the role he is playing, if he wasn't there, I mean, we've seen the 2 games or whatever he's missed and we have been destroyed up forward every single time. So he's playing a much more important role than it actually is, shown on paper, in my opinion.
Agree. And that's why I've been so big on needing a more mature body up forward to help him because we're burning him out. Like, I think we need him next year, to be honest, to just get through one more year while Jonty and Sims develop. For sure. And that's why I want to see McKelty in or someone like that to help give him a chop out. Because as much as I love watching Fall and Sims play, they just can't compete at a high enough level, strong enough for long enough. And then, like you said, then Lynch gets triple teamed and it's game over. So, I think BT is okay for him. Noel Bolter. Now, I can't remember if we did this before the court stuff. I'm guessing we would have. Again, probably hasn't played enough to go into the A tier.
Yeah.
And I think
I genuinely just think we skip
football ability.
Yeah, but, we just probably skip Noel Bolter. There's really nothing to talk about. Everyone knows the situation. We're not. Yeah. I don't think there's anything to really mention there.
I think we'll leave him in B on the premise that he's still going to be best 22 when available, and we've seen that already. Exactly like he's getting picked ahead of Campbell Gray and whatnot. All right, Jack Ross, really interesting one. I think he's started the season okay. I think since Prestia come back in, he's taken a bit of a turn. Like he's not getting the same midfield minutes. I'm not at all convinced he can play the half forward role very well because he's more of a midfielder. But interestingly, when you see the Footy Club put out their mid-season video, he's actually leading a lot of the stats for inside 50s and score assists. Like he's in that top 2 or 3 tier. But I don't know whether he's fully cemented himself or not.
Nah, there's not enough evidence to move him anywhere. It's also like you could, like I'm a Jack Ross fan, but you could just plain and simply say that the reason he's leading a lot of those, stats is that we don't have anyone else to play the role that he is currently playing. So I would just leave him, but I will say next year, if we ever revisit this thing next year, he will be an interesting one to talk about because.
Well, we'll revisit it at the end of the year too. Yeah. We'll do another one post-season. We'll see how he's faring there as well.
This might be a big call, but I'm not too sure Jack Ross would be, guaranteed a game into the 23 next year. He's one of the guys that's going to have to. There'll be about 6 or 7 of those guys next year that will have to work to continue to keep their spot, and he'll be one of them because that is a odd player at the moment. I don't know, tough to get a handle on that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. When it comes to next year, he's going to be fighting for a spot in a big, big way, especially when these other players come on. Ryan Mansell, he's a tough one. I mean, there's honestly a part of me that wants to put him in B because the pressure and the tenacity, but then he gives away dumb shit free kicks that cost us goals. And I'm like, why? Just hand the ball back. Don't fight with people. But I guess he's trying to fly the flag for his younger teammates, so I can respect that too. Is he still in and out of the 22, or do you reckon he's locked into the 22? I reckon he's almost one of the first picked in a lot of instances.
As you know, there's not many players on this team I don't really rate, but I'm not a Ryan Mansell fan. I don't know. There's just something about his game that I don't really like. And I saw like a system video earlier in the year that was talking about the changes that Richmond need to do. And one of the big ones is that they believe that how the players and how they compared and the similarities and whatnot, he and Maurice Rioli can't actually play in the same team. If you kind of watch how they both play, they're not really big. Neither of them are big goal scorers or big possession getters, right? They're both really big pressure-based players. And I don't know if Morris does it consistently enough. I think Mansell is a little bit better. But I would keep him in C, but I just love for him to hit the scoreboard more and just get the ball a little bit more. I feel like he goes so quiet, in my opinion.
He does. Cry Tiger, just chill out, my friend. We started from A tier, working backwards. Relax. On Mansell, and this kind of goes for all of our small forwards because our opposition defenders intercept mark everything so much. Like if we go inside 50 times, I reckon 25 of them are being marked by the other team. So we're almost rendering our small forwards useless. I actually feel bad for like Mansell and Steely Green and whatnot, because I don't think they're getting as much opportunity for the ball to be on the deck than what they would maybe in another normal environment. But having said that, based on the output side of things, I think leaving him in C is fair enough at this stage. I think he's definitely got the potential to move into B tier, and I think he's the kind of player that I reckon when we're caught up to speed a bit more and our forward line's functioning a lot better, I think that's when he'll elevate a bit more, because there's going to be better quality around him and it's going to click a bit more. But I think for now, C's probably the spot. Ben Miller, he's an interesting one. For me, straight out, I'm saying I reckon A. He's arguably our best defender, statistically speaking. The amount of one-on-ones that he wins. I know he's had a couple of iffy kicking moments, but geez, I mean, Alex Rance had plenty of those as well along the journey. I just think the importance of him to our side is huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, if you were to compare him to the other lockdown key defenders in the league right now, right? Like that David Asprey kind of role, which in my opinion, that's what he plays. If you look around the league, honestly, Ben Miller would be one of the best ones in the league. And if you're saying you're one of the best ones at a certain position, I mean, that probably grants you A tier, right?
Yeah. And like, I know there's a lot of haters out there, and I know you took note of a few as well.
Yeah, like before we started this, I said there is a lot of hate for Ben Miller around the internet, which I think is the most insane thing. Like, I mentioned to you this before, there's a Richmond fan page called Tiger Ambush, Tiger Faithful. I think they changed their name, right? We don't really know who it is who runs the page. It's a bit of like a conspiracy among some Richmond fans, but this guy shits on Ben Miller every second chance that he can get, and I don't really understand why. So there is a part of the community that doesn't like him, and I think me and you are not in that community. I think what he does is really, really good. So I'd be happy with that. That's a big promotion for Ben Miller. He's going straight to general manager from casual.
But based on the criteria, the definition of the A tier is an absolute lock in your best 22 each week. He is not budging 100%. From that best 22 each week. He's categorically locked in. I know people don't necessarily like it, but he is one of the first picked every week. And I just want to clarify 100%. As well, the order of the plays within the list are completely meaningless. It's just stacking the names on top of one another. So it's not so much that Sonsy's ahead of Bauer. It's just where they were dropped in on the list. I don't read into that part too much. Hugo Ralph Smith, another one who's probably divides a lot of people as well, playing on the wing, obviously missed a few games with the hamstring. I think he's If it was me personally, I reckon he's creeping up to a B, but I don't know if I've seen enough.
Yeah, he's knocking on the door, but the reality is I think he's actually one of the better offensive wings in the comp, but he's probably one of the worst defensive wings in the comp. He's, in my opinion, I think his defense is like it's actually he actually tries really hard. I don't really know what it is, but there was a stat the other day that just showed that his defensive level, because I don't think are good at all.
That Essendon debutant kicked 3 on him, took him to the goal square and smoked him.
Yeah. Angus Clark, right?
Yeah,
Super coach legend. Yeah, no, that was a little bit yeah. So I think, well, I mean, that's a tough one because, you know, Hugo Ralph Smith, if you had to pick the top 12 best players right now for Richmond, I think a lot of people would put him in that like top 12. So, I mean, it's up to you. I'll leave this one to you if you want to go C or B. I'm happy to leave him in C at the moment.
I think I'll edge him closer to that side because I think he's getting closer to being in a B. I agree with you. I think offensively he's doing okay. You want to see a more rounded game defensively.
Yeah, and we're not a good enough team to have.
No, we can't cover for people.
We're not a good enough team to have too many people in A and B. You know, if we put too many people in both of them, people I think would be like, hold on, you guys are 7-8.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, I'm happy to leave him in C, but I think he's got scope to get to B if he can improve some other deficiencies in his game and just be a bit more consistent as well. Maurice Rioli, we've got so many players that divide people. I mean, for me, I don't think he's going to make it as a small forward. However, I am completely all in on the idea of him being a midfielder from what I've seen at VFL level. The 2 games he's played there were pretty good. Obviously, you want to see that for 5 or 6 weeks in a row before you would even contemplate doing it AFL level. But I think if he's to survive in the AFL system, I think it's got to be as a midfielder. I just don't think he's got the footy smarts to play it as a small forward.
I would move him to D, I think. I don't know. I disagree with Uze. I think the way Uze was speaking about him, like he's a knock on the door guy for the 22, 23 or whatever, you know. But I don't think he really has it, to be honest. Like I liked what I saw in the 2 games that he played really well for us this year, but every other game has been so bad.
You just can't find that consistency at AFL level. And I guess there's a little bit of opportunity and a little bit on him as well. But I think if he can master the midfield piece at VFL level and translate it to AFL, I think he could jump back up to a C or a B. Maybe not this year, but there's going to be a lot of competition for spots. And to your point earlier, it was interesting to hear you say it, that it doesn't really work when Morris and Mansell play like the same kind of role on the same side.
No, well, yeah, it's physically impossible when you think about it. Like, you have to have scoring. Our scoring last year was the biggest problem ever. This year, it's a little bit less, I think. But the reality is, how can you have 2 small forwards who are only putting on pressure and that's it, and just don't hit the scoreboard at all? And, like, to you, you know, you're saying that Rioli can play midfield. I also think his biggest issue is he has a really bad tank, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they've been advertising him to build a better tank over the last year or 2, and he still has not. So, in my opinion, I don't even think he could play midfield until he ever did that, and I just don't think he is. And maybe he can't. Like, if you've been in the AFL for this long and you haven't built a bigger tank yet, you know, could be something more to it. So,
yeah, possibly, and it's. Yeah, time's definitely against him. I do agree shifting him back to D, but I think the ball's definitely in his court to try and bump that back up to a C. I'm just marking in yellow the ones that we've discussed, just so it's easy for people to see who we haven't yet discussed. If they're in yellow, folks, if they're in yellow, we've already re-ranked them. If they're in black, we are yet to re-rank. Thompson Dow. I've been a big fan of Thompson Dow's, and I thought he was having a really good season. And I fully am aware that in a year or 2, there's going to be, you know, players like Smiley and Lawler and Houghton who are going to go past him, and that's okay. But for what we needed, I thought he was doing the extraction role really, really well. You know, people were going on about he wasn't getting 25 touches or he wasn't hitting 45-meter laser passes. That wasn't his job. His job was to get the ball out of the pack and into the hands of someone else who could use it. And he was doing it really well. Was it enough to move into B tier though?
No, I wouldn't say it was enough to move into B tier, but I also really respect Thompson Dow's game this year. I think he knows the player he is now. And I think Richmond know the player he is. And if he is to be replaced in 2 years, I mean, you look at that in 2 years. But for right now, you've got a guy who I think will be consistently just okay. And that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes you need some consistently okay players. And other than his kicking, I don't think there's really anything bad about Thompson Dow's game. There's just not really anything great. But when you do become a very good side like we used to be, you can't just settle for okay. But I mean, right now for where we're developing, I'm fine with what Thompson Dow's doing, and I'm pretty happy to keep him in C.
I agree. I think it is a shame that he did go down because I thought he was really starting to feel comfortable with the level and he was working it out. He just needed that goal, didn't he? He had peppered the goals a few times and missed, but I thought he was playing the role pretty well, and definitely no longer a D in my books. But look, he'll get phased out at some point. If I was the club, though, I would honestly, because I think this is his last year on contract, I would offer him another year or two just to show the faith in him. Because if someone else does go down with something next year, you know that he's going to come in straight away and perform a role at the level for you.
Yeah, I'd give him a 2-year deal. I think that's fair. He's probably sick of 1-year deals at this point. You probably should reward him for a 2-year. And I mean, worst case scenario, the second year he's playing VFL.
Yeah, because you still need depth. Like, I think people often get lost in you can't have 22 A graders running around in your side. It just doesn't happen. Like, foot soldiers are required, and he can come in and do that. Yeah, Tom Brown's had an interesting year. He had a really, really big preseason, and has had some pretty good moments. Obviously, had the game-saving tackle against West Coast, which was really good. Yeah, after he botched the spoil attempt. Yeah. He's a genuine candidate to shift across to the B, I think.
Well, isn't Tom Brown statistically one of the best players in the league still? Like, at one stage, he was ranked 30 on champion data, wasn't he? Something
he and Seth Campbell were pretty high, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine he'd still be probably top 100 to 150. So, I mean, that probably warrants B tier. He doesn't really do anything wrong. It's just getting him to find the ball more and getting him in the right situations to where he can use it. Yeah. And also telling him it's fine that if he messes up and has a really bad turnover, as long as, you know, he continues to keep doing those kicks, because I think sometimes there'll be a kick where he doesn't know if he can bite off, right? And he won't do it. But the elite players, usually they just do it without hesitation. And 9 out of 10 times if it works, 1 out of 10 times it won't work. And I think them doing it, knowing that the 9 out of 10 times do work, they like to risk it. And I just don't know if he's at that level yet.
He does take some risky kicks at times. You want to see him pull the trigger more often because it's such a big weapon of his. Just do it. Don't think about it. And I think that'll come in time. He had a game, I can't remember who was against recently, where he had 9 marks in defense, which was a really solid game. It was very Nick Floston-like. I think he's starting to feel more and more like he belongs. I mean, I sort of look at Sam Banks, for example. He's kind of hitting that 30 to 40 game mark, and he's feeling a bit more comfortable. So Brown's not going to be too far behind. I think he's versatile as well, but no, he's definitely elevated himself from C to B. I'm pretty comfortable with him doing that. And
sure.
I'm liking where he's heading. Camden McIntosh probably played a lot more games than what a lot of people thought so far this year. We obviously got him to the 200. He's been subbed the last couple of games, still named again this week. I didn't mind him playing the tagger role. What I wasn't so thrilled about was when he was still playing in the center but wasn't tagging. To me, that kind of defeated the purpose a little bit and took away from something else we could be doing. I don't mind him playing on his wing. However, I still think he's got a bit to offer on the wing if we haven't settled on the right player to be on the opposite side of Hugo. Can you see him moving? I don't think he's dropping down to D. So the question's more about, is he going up to B?
No, he just stays in C. Because there is still a big chance he might not be in the team in a couple of weeks, and that's fine. I think he's actually done a really good role, and I mean, I would also re-sign him for a year if I was the Tigers.
Agree.
I'd keep him on. Yep.
I would sign him on with the understanding that you may not play 22 senior games or whatever, 23, whatever it is. He might not want to do that, and that's okay too. But I'm very mindful, and same with the Thompson Dow topic, I'm very mindful that we lost 1,600 games experience last year. I don't really want to try and do that again.
No.
Because what worries me is second year blues. Like, it's a real thing in AFL football. You look at someone like Colby McKercher from North Melbourne, who had a great year in his first year and has shitted up this year massively. And we've got 8 of them who could potentially do the same thing. They may not, but you would want to have some coverage there just to cover some form lapses if that does occur.
Yeah, no, there's not. I don't think anyone should retire for the Tigers this year. If I'm being honest, I'd keep everyone on for another year and see how we go.
Yeah. And look, there has to be 3 list changes, but I think that can happen in other ways or forms.
Oh yeah, we'll probably get into that, I'd say.
Yeah. Sam Banks. I mean, is
Move
he
him up.
A or B?
He's B. He's B.
Probably not.
Yeah, we won't get too ahead of ourselves just yet because I think there's a lot more on the defensive end for Sam Banks to develop into, and also we've seen what he's doing right now for 4 or 5 games. You want to see a lot more of that. But I think even when he was playing on the wing before he has exploded, into the player that he's turning into, I actually thought he was playing really good footy even then. So
agree.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with B.
I'm comfortable with B. And like we've said before, the club internally rate him really highly, and I think he's now starting to show why they rated him so high. His work at halfback's been really good. I'd love to see him, similar to Tom Brown, would love to see him pull the trigger a bit more with his kicking, which he did the first couple of games, and he kind of regressed a little bit because he's such a nice kick and a long kick of the ball. But I do love that he shows the initiative to run around the side of plays to get handball receives to keep the ball moving. I think that's a really good sign of an attacking halfback. It's such an important role, and I hope he continues. But he will potentially force himself into A in a couple of years, I reckon.
For sure.
Oh, is the yellow hard to see?
Him.
Really, on my screen, it's easy to see. I can change it I'll change the yellow to a different color if it's hard to see.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Re-signing him for 2 years, I wasn't too happy with that. That is a very, very bad indication for Richmond, in my opinion, that his management is smart. They signed right before Tasmania are coming into the league, so.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be driven by his management decision. I reckon what we'll find is similar to Seth Campbell's contract. I reckon there'll be trigger clauses in there that if he hits X amount of games or KPIs, whatever it is, that it triggers an extension.
Yeah.
But I mean, there'll always be that talk about the Tasmania part. And I think he's mentioned a couple of times that he doesn't have any desire to, but as annoying as it is, it's a smart play from his manager.
100%. Because even if he doesn't want to go, he's going to pen a couple 100,000 more just because they're going to be in the, they're going to be hanging around.
Yeah, it's a genuine threat. And if he's out of contract, 100% they will ask the question, as they should. So smart by the manager, but hopefully we can navigate that. Is red better, folks? Is that be better to read? McKelty Lafau. I mean, there's probably not a hell of a lot we can do with him just yet. I feel like he will be one that may change come the end of the year when we do it again.
Yeah.
But I really hope he's back in this week.
Well, I honestly think for now you kind of have to move him to D, don't you? Like, in my opinion.
True, because he's not back in based on the descriptions, you probably do, because he's not getting games at the moment. I know that's kind of circumstance because of his recovery. But even then, he's probably been in out of the recovery phase for long enough that they were still opting to play Fall and Sims ahead of him for their own development reasons. So I think that's a fair enough call. I can see him by end of year jumping back in and maybe even going a bit further.
Well, what's he been back now, like 4 games or so, and he hasn't gotten back into the team? I mean, it's going to take time for him because he's coming back from an ACL injury, but
it's a tough marking on him, but I think based on the rationale and the criteria, D is where it's at.
But just wait till we hopefully get that game where he kicks like 4 or something in the VFL, and then we'll be set from there.
Yeah, agree. Now I reckon he'll move back up as the year goes on. Seth Campbell, he's a player that genuinely caught me by surprise this year. I mean, as we exited 2024, I didn't enter 2025 thinking that Seth Campbell was going to have the year he's had.
Yeah, no, Seth Campbell has legit been one of our, in my opinion, he's an instant I'd move up to B tier.
Yep.
I think he's actually been really, really good. I think he's becoming one of the better small forwards, half forwards, whatever you want to call him, I think in the AFL right now. And he's a piece for the future. He's a guy that I'm really hoping will be in our hopefully next premiership team. I think he's been really good for the Tigers.
Yeah, agree. And there's probably just a couple of consistency things that that maybe haven't. I don't think he's an A just yet, but I think he's trajecting clearly in that direction. Just a dangerous forward, and can tackle, can link up throughout the middle of the ground. And what I'm enjoying from him at the moment is I'm loving that we're using him up at stoppages at different parts of the ground as well to help with clearances. I think that's a really good evolution of his game, and I'd love to see him at centre bounces at some point too.
Yeah, well, in his first year, they moved him up to the wing a bit, and
yeah,
I don't know if we've really seen anything like that. And I think the reason we haven't seen him move and play on the wing is because a good high half forward like a Dylan Moore can naturally move up the ground anyway.
Yeah.
So the evolution of his game is to be able to consistently move up the ground and still find a way to hit the scoreboard and put on pressure. And that is what makes a player an elite small forward. It's what makes a player a top 10 small forward in the game. And I think that's what he needs to do. I think he should really look at players like Dylan Moore as a guy who he should, mark his kind of game off because, I think they're very similar in a lot of different ways.
No, I like it. I think he's going to go to another level. So loving him. Kazitsky, I think he's a safe one to leave in D. And look, I do want to say, honestly, I know he's not going to play AFL for us anytime soon with how many people are ahead of him. But I do want to again acknowledge that what he's doing for us in the VFL needs to get recognised because it's such a big job that he's doing. Like he's playing knowing he's not playing AFL, but what he's doing is allowing
really tough.
100%. But he's allowing the other younger kids to develop and grow into their roles by supporting them and coaching them at VFL level. Like he's actually extremely important to the developmental piece.
Yeah, for sure.
But based on the list, he's definitely not playing AFL anytime soon for us, unfortunately.
And you know what though? That is like. It would be such a shit, but also such a great feeling. Like imagine how shit it would be to know that you're probably never going to play AFL again, but also how great it would be to know that you've got this year and next year contracted where you really just, all you have to do is, for the next year is just help out these young guys and get paid, $450,000 each year to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly right. I mean,
it doesn't sound like a bad gig. Yeah.
No. Andrew's just had a really good idea. We should color code it based on players who have moved up and moved down. I really like that, Andrew. So let's take the time to do that quickly. So Ben Miller has moved up.
Ben Miller and Jacob Hopper have moved up.
We'll go with that color because underneath the other one I'm using, the other three stayed there.
Yep.
Prestia stayed. Lynch Bolter stayed. Tom Brown moved up.
Yep.
So did Banks moved up. And Campbell moved up. Jack Ross stayed.
Yeah, Jaden Short was the only one there who moved down.
So he can stay in red, and the rest were all as is, and then Cozzy. All right, so we'll just mark the ones that move up.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Juddy Clark.
Yeah, I mean, not really much to talk about with this one. That's just a really sad footy story that is a big pain in the ass. I don't know if we will ever see him ever play a game ever again, which is really, really sad.
Yeah, so, I would love to see him get back. I reckon he can. And what I'm actually finding interesting is I'm finding interesting how many options the club are exploring and kind of the language around what Uze was saying today about different types of surgery or the way they do the operation. I'm going to be really interested to see what they. Yeah, so he didn't really suggest or allude to like Lars the synthetic fiber or anything, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was maybe some international calls made to see if there's different techniques to try and make sure it.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm really keen to hear the findings of that, which he did say they were going to release. But if he had got back on the park, he was honestly looking at a B.
He was tearing it up. Yeah, he was absolutely tearing it up. I think he would have come into the AFL and made a really big difference. But obviously we see why they didn't bring him into the AFL was for exactly the reason that ended up happening, which was really, really sad.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping he's back. Samson Ryan, I mean, I can't see him moving out of the D tier. I still have this very small, faint glimmer of hope that will click for him at some point. I'm running out of time though, because he's still not old in ruck ages, and I know I'm probably clutching at straws, but yeah, look, we need him. Like, he shows some good signs at times in VFL level, but it just never translates to AFL, does it?
Samson Ryan's the GOAT. I'd probably put him in A tier. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Put him in straight in the A tier.
Why not?
Oh, dear. James Trezise. Definitely. Oh, well, that's a hard one, actually. He shouldn't be in the D tier, should he? He's probably more of a C.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, he's in and out.
Well, but then if you move him up, how do you go about Sonsi? I think both of those guys are in a similar situation, but like, to me, Trezise is much further ahead. Like, I mean, if Trezise was on the North Melbourne Footy Club list, he'd be their best defensive halfback. Like, that's how good our backline is actually performing this year. So I mean, yeah, I'd be happy with putting him in C. I think him playing in the VFL is really, really stiff, but
it is.
Caleb Smith is doing good.
Yeah, and I don't want to hold that against him either. But what I like, that he's got a few tricks. Obviously, like, he can play wing or he can play halfback. But the guys in that role haven't done too much wrong. I think he's going to get a chance. Maybe even, I know he's on the extended bench this week, so I wouldn't be shocked if he came back in. I think C tier being that in and out of the side at times, I think he definitely sort of fits there.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Tyler Sonsi, I think, is in the same boat. Like, I know he's much maligned, but you know, when he's getting,
I'd keep him in
VFL,
D.
Would you?
Yeah, I would keep him in D. Look, do you know, in my opinion, I think there is like, when you watch Sonsi play in the VFL, there is such a clear and obvious reason why he, you know, dominates and he's playing so well, and that's because his biggest disadvantage in the AFL is not a disadvantage in the VFL, and that is speed, right? For his height, you generally have to be a quick midfielder, but he just really isn't. He's not quick at all. And I mean, in the AFL, it just doesn't work. And then some people would say, well, Prestia is not that quick at the moment. I don't think people forget how goddamn quick Prestia used to be before his hamstrings started to fall off, you know? So, I wouldn't, I don't know. I think Sonsi just has a massive issue, and that is his speed, and that's just why he hasn't been able to fit in. I don't know. Did he get picked to play against the Dogs? Is he playing?
Yeah, because he played the Sydney game in the week before. I think he had 17 touches against the Swans, and he played the week before as well.
I just don't know with Sonsi. I mean, if you want to move him up because he is playing right now, that technically means he fits the criteria.
Maybe we'll leave him like that side though.
Yeah, but he's just so, like, he could get dropped just like that. Like, Smiley could, if he has a good VFL game or two in the next couple of weeks when he comes back.
Yeah, you're right. It feels like that he would be one of the first couple out when these other guys start to progress. For the moment, though, he's played the last few games. He's obviously done his stint in the VFL. And I suppose the C, he is in and out of the side, so it probably fits in that sense. But I reckon he'll ask for opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, did the comments say anything about Sonsi?
Too many.
I'd like to hear what...
Paul said too many good kids will pass Sonsi pretty quickly. Definitely will.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, Sonsi D won't. Yeah, I think by season's end he will be potentially in the D area.
Back in there.
Yeah. Jacob Bauer, I think he stays there.
He definitely stays there, and in my opinion, like, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. I think he's one of the first players off the top of my head that is very close to being delisted, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other than like the first game or two, he showed really bad signs in the AFL. He just jumps at everything. His defensive pressure is terrible. His contested marking, he didn't do any of that. Didn't move up the ground that well. He's got a good kick on him, but it's not enough to keep you getting a consistent game, especially when you're not finding it.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I think that's fair enough. someone asked if we could color code the ones that have dropped down. Jaden Shaw's the only one who's dropped back, hasn't he?
I think so. I think
the other
Jaden
ones
Shaw
just staying in the tier.
Yeah.
So I think Shawty's the only one who's regressed so far.
Yeah.
Well, no one's going to regress from too soon to rank.
Yeah.
Josh Smiley, in a lot of ways, Josh Smiley still stays in this category.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, you can't rank Smiley at all. There's really nothing to even talk about with Smiley because we don't know what's going on there. The only thing we know that's going on there is Uze is like in love with this man, and I don't blame him. Like, he's a very good looking guy, the big blonde, luscious hair, 6'4" or whatever. But he talks about him in the interviews like he's always like he's 1 week off and then he just pulls a hamstring like straight away. So it's like Uze's bursting every time he says it.
He's definitely slimmed up a bit. You could tell from the photos from training the other day. And this fitness block, I think, is going to help him substantially. But yeah, there's just obviously not enough body of work to pass judgment on him. So we'll leave him there for now. Sam Lawler.
Yeah, well, I think he's the first one who you kind of got to like put in the middle of B and C. I don't know if he really belongs in either of them yet because I don't know. Well, he's very inconsistent, but he's also playing a really tough role in our team right now. Like the high half forward as an 18-year-old, in my opinion, the high half forward in general is arguably the hardest position in the AFL.
Definitely.
And Sam Lawler is playing it right now. And you got games where you're like, God damn, this guy is 18 years old and he's doing this. You see why they took him at pick 1. But then there's games where Richmond are having a really bad day and Sam Lawler doesn't really touch it, which is not his fault.
It's a tricky one. Based on the definition, I mean, I feel like when he's fit and available, he's fairly well cemented. So I'm tempted to go that side of B because
he's better than everyone.
When he's available,
in C.
he's not playing, but he's definitely playing ahead of the guys in C.
Yeah,
but he's not quite, obviously not quite yet A, but I've got no doubt he will get there. I think he's had a really good impact. And you know he's a good player when there's games where he's not playing. You're like, oh, shit, I wish Sam Lawler was playing. He might have helped us out a bit
100%.
there, as someone who's young. So, no, we can't go A just yet with him, folks. I know we all think he'll get there, and I think he'll definitely get there. But as it stands right now, he's not putting out the same type of numbers as what Taranto or a Hopper is.
Yeah. Well, was it Kane Corns yesterday who said that he thinks Sam Lawler is like absolutely the future of the AFL?
Yeah, and I think there's certain categories that when he does spend time in the middle, he's putting out elite stats for the brief stints that he's in there. But look, by midway next year, I can quite easily see him moving into the A column. He's a jet. You
know what's so crazy about Lawler, in my opinion? Like, you see all of these pick 1s, and they all have like a similar thing. They're all like midfielders who can go play forward, right? Like Jason Horne-Francis, Harley Reid. In my opinion, like their strengths right now are a lot better than what Sam Lawler's are. But a lot of them have some issues that are way worse than what Sam Lawler's issues are, specifically Harley Reid, like discipline on the field. Like even Horne-Francis, there are times where you watch Horne-Francis where his discipline on the field isn't great and his defensive pressure can be really, really shit. But the fact is Sam Lawler his faults aren't like that crazy. Like I think everyone came up with a Dusty comparison. I actually think Sam Lawler, he really plays like Christian Petrarca, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's got a really good aerial game like Petrarca does.
Yeah, and EJ likens him to like a Dangerfield type as well. Similar to Petrarca, like good in the air, but a better kick than Dangerfield, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dangerfield and Petrarca are the good comparisons for Lawler. He's much more like them than he is Dusty. I think Harley Reid's a lot more like Dusty than Lawler is, in my opinion.
We love what Sammy's bringing to the table. Taj Houghton.
For sure.
Mate, I'm going straight A here without even seeing a bloody game. No, we'll leave him here with Josh Smiley. But how exciting is it to see Taj Houghton playing VFL this week?
Yeah, look, I'm very hopeful. I'm excited. I hope he plays. Like, I think it's still a bit touch and go, right, on if he's actually playing. I think he has to do.
Uze said today.
Uze said he's playing?
Yeah, he's playing a half or 3/4 of VFL.
Okay. Look, I'm excited. I don't think he'll really play much in the half, But I mean, I just want to see him get the rock, just at least one disposal, and see if he can do something special, because that's what he did so well in his draft year. Was he is a really good disposal user.
I posted a highlights video of him today because I just feel like people may have forgotten what we can expect from him. And I watched it just giggling because I'm like, some of the shit he's doing, not many others can do. It's ridiculous. Like, he's a genuine hybrid of Bolton and Edwards.
Yeah, the Shea Bolton comparison is so there. Like, the way he moves is so silky. I know Shea Bolton has like some really crappy kicks on goals, but if you've been watching what Shea Bolton's been doing for Freo as of late, and in saying this, I hope he's not stinking it up right now as I'm saying this. He's so crafty around the ball, and I think that's what they're hoping Houghton will be like for us.
He's going to be gun. Nuclear Day, he's on managed minutes. He's playing about a half or three quarters, but it'll be managed minutes within that. Uzo actually mentioned that Houghton felt, and I know what Houghton feels may be different to the medical staff, but felt that he was good to go a couple of weeks ago. So I think they've held off an extra bit longer. And all I can say is I'm glad the game's at Marvel and not at Beaconsfield, is all I'll say. Jonty Fall, who has had a really good impact, and he was probably one, given that he came across with some of those back issues, I wasn't sure how early he would see some game time. And look, I know that I've probably been one to maybe suggest he should make way for Lafau in the last couple of weeks. That's nothing against Jonty. He's not done anything wrong. It's just more from a team structural perspective. But from a Jonty as an individual, I really like what he brings. He's a competitive animal. He's probably missed a couple of shots at goal he should have probably kicked. But you can just tell he's going to be a good player for the future. And I mean, he's definitely not D tier. I think he's looking at either C, probably C before. Not yet B, I don't think.
He's better than all of those players on D tier, other than maybe McKelty, but we don't really know what's going on there at this point.
Maybe Jonty is the left side of C.
Yeah, well, look, I would have probably put him to the right side of C because, as you said, I think he, in a week or two, probably will be making way for McKelty in the VFL. But that's not because he's like really doing anything wrong. He's an 18-year-old key forward. So
like when we revisit this in 3 years, he'll probably be an A. He's got A written all over him just with the type of player he is. And it's going to be exciting to watch a forward line of McKelty, of Jonty Fall, Sims, and Armstrong in the future. Not so much for an opposition.
Yeah. Just before we move on, who do you think Jonty Fall reminds you of? Because I saw a lot of draft comparisons, and when I watched him, I thought he originally played a little bit like Tom Lynch back then, but we haven't really seen anything like that in the league. And I'm watching him play a little bit now, and I think the Tom Lynch comparisons came up a little bit more because he was a lot taller against under 18 competition. But he's about, I think he's 4 centimeters off, and his length is a lot different to what Tom Lynch's is. I don't know if he reminds you of anyone different, but nothing's like really...
No, nothing's jumped out. I don't mind the Tom Lynch comparison from maybe like even his Gold Coast days or first few years at Richmond, like with the working up and down the ground and leading up the ground as a genuine centre-half forward. He's definitely different to a Jack Rewalt. I reckon early days Lynch isn't a bad one, but he's going to be a very handy prospect. Toby, so what about a Jesse Hogan comparison?
I mean, I don't know. Like, we just haven't seen enough of Jonty. Maybe in like a year's time, we'll be like, oh crap, he's a lot like Jesse Hogan, or we'll be like, oh, he's a lot like Tom Lynch. But I just wanted to, that's why I asked that question. If you had anyone that came to your mind.
It's a good question.
He's got a unique play style about him. Yeah.
Definitely does. Jasper Alga, geez, my man, I'm desperate for him to play football. I know he's been named in the side again this week, but we won't know until I guess tomorrow if he's going to make his debut. But we can't say too much on him yet, I guess. But I do like what I see from him at VFL level. He's kicking goals most weeks.
Would you move him to the D tier just because we have seen a lot of his VFL work and he kind of just isn't getting a game right now?
That's a fair call. Call because we do know a bit about him. He just isn't getting picked at the moment. So we'll move him to D, but I think he'll be a player that once he gets his way into the side, that he'll hopefully stay in there for for a long time to come. But
yeah, for sure.
That's as much as we can do for him. Luke Trainer. Luke Trainer's an interesting one. He's definitely surpassing D and will be in the C to B areas. What do you reckon about Luke Trainer? I'll leave him here just for now.
That was the one I have been looking at, and I'm still like not sure where I'd have him in because I think he is so close to B tier. Like, I think I would probably leave him in C right now, but he is like 1 centimeter off B tier. He has been so incredible for us, but then you can't really justify putting a guy in B tier who's been moved to the wing and half forward because they haven't been able to get him in the back line. But
yeah, it's a real tricky one. Like, is he in the same boat as Lawler in the sense that he's not been dropped or bar one for a rest, but like if he's available, he's playing.
Look, I think Lawler belongs in B because he has been, he's doing what he's doing at high half forward. But Luke Trainer has been moved around. And
his disposal's been a little bit iffy as well.
Yeah. I don't think any B tier player gets moved around, you know what I mean? Like because they can't fit into the spot that they're playing in. But it's just because our backline is so good. Our backline is so good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll leave him onto the left of the C tier because I think he'll enter B in the near future. Harry Armstrong, I mean, he's always going to have to go in a D by default because he's out for so long.
Yeah, he's not really playing. Yeah,
not through any fault of his own.
Probably chuck him Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, he hurt himself pretty bad. He did a really bad hamstring, and look, I don't know when he'll come back in or what it's going to be, but I don't even know if he's going to come back this year. Is he still out for like another 5 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think they're saying 4 to 5 weeks. I reckon we'll start seeing him play football at about round 17 or 18 for VFL, or the A for the VFL comparison. But look, there's every chance he'll squeeze in a game or two by the end of the year, but he will definitely climb the ranks he's another one I could see being a B or an A by mid next year. And he's simply only in D because he's just not been playing. Yeah.
So we'll have to reevaluate him maybe end of the year if he plays or something.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, exactly right. And that alone might get him into C. Liam Fawcett, we saw him obviously play the one game when Tom Lynch was out, and he re-signed yesterday for another year till the end of 2026. Which I was a little bit surprised at in a good way. It means he's backing himself to make a difference. But, I mean, I think he has to go deep because he's not getting picked, but we've seen what he can do at the VFL level. I'm not sure. I don't think we can really put him up any higher, can we?
No. He got the one game. He played okay in the one game, but, I mean, I like the spot that we have him in right now, and I really like the fact that we have a good 3 to 5 key forwards that are going to continuously, maybe keep interchanging between. I think we're going to usually keep the 3, but having a guy like Liam Fawcett develop in the 2s and, as you mentioned earlier, be a depth player is actually really, really important. It's something that we really need. So I think he'll play more. I think he'll probably play more footy next year, but again, we haven't seen enough from him to move him into C or anything.
Yeah, I agree. Tom Sims, he was another one that I really didn't expect to get as much game time as he has this year. He genuinely surprised me. I just thought he was a bit too light on frame-wise, but it turns out he can do okay. I think he's definitely past a D, so it's kind of about now. I don't think we can put him into – is B too much of a stretch? Like, I like what he's offering.
Yeah.
Where do you think he sits?
I'd keep him in C just because, like, his best is a lot. It's still far away. When he has a bad game, he's having a bad game. It's like when Lynch isn't there and he and Jonty Fall are kind of manning that forward line by himself, we've seen what happens, and it's still not a pretty sight. But the game he did play against the Giants a couple weeks ago, that was flat out phenomenal. And he was really close to a rising star, I think. I'm pretty sure he kicked a couple behinds that game. And if he hit the scoreboard, he probably would have been a rising star. So, in my opinion, he's actually been a little bit better than Jonty Fall so far this year. I don't know if that's a controversial topic, but I've liked what I've seen, but it's definitely not enough for B. Yeah, I think he's still quite far off it.
Yeah, I think he's another one who I'm looking forward to seeing in the future, but I'm definitely comfortable with the C for now. Kalina, I mean, he's almost still in the same category, if not D.
Low-key, take him off the list. Is he even on the team? Like, what? He's been on the list for like 5 or 6 years or something. He's played like 2 VFL years. Like, I reckon just above the too soon to rank, that little black part, you should put his name.
Somewhere up here.
He where we can't see it because he doesn't play. Yeah, literally doesn't play.
I think he's in genuine trouble of not being on the list next year. It's just the reality.
If you delist him, he doesn't count as a delisted player, right? Because he's a Category B rookie.
I don't know if his status changed, because I thought we already delisted him and re-put him on the list in some capacity. You might be right. I'm not too sure what they've done there.
Yeah, they were pretty quiet about that. That kind of flew under the radar.
I know. That was bit of a let's just get a hush deal done.
Yeah.
Jacob Blight, who is smashing the door down at VFL level. I think he's averaging like 23 disposals and 9 or 10 marks in his last 4 games, but just can't crack into the defense. I would have been okay playing him forward as well. I think he showed some okay signs there.
Yeah.
What do you have made of his season? Where does he fit?
Look,
is he in and out, or is he not selected?
I think well, technically he's D tier because they are picking Campbell Gray over him, which is kind of insane to think. But I don't know what the flaws are in Jacob Blight's game that is just preventing him from being picked. Because, like, if he goes to North Melbourne, he's like their number 1 key defender. And with us, he's like number 4 or 5 in our rank. And I just don't know what it is that they don't like about Jacob Blight.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he's got AFL traits. I do think he'll be maybe involved in some type of trade at end of year. I think he'll get.
Yeah, he will.
He'll want opportunity elsewhere. And like, when you look at our list, we've got about 8 key position defenders. So it is an extensive list, and it is tough to crack into. And you got to remember when Josh Gibcus comes back, and you've got Miller and Bolter and all that kind of stuff. Campbell Gray. It is going to be difficult to fit them all in. And I know Uze said today that Blight will get another chance at some stage, but that didn't really fill me with confidence enough to put him in C. So he probably has to stay in. Probably has to stay in D. But if he played, I think he'd definitely be a C. But anyway, Oliver Hayes-Brown. I mean, probably, I actually really like how he's tracking. He's almost still too soon to rank, honestly.
He's like in the same Mate Kalina, chuck him above the. No, that's actually a bit disrespectful considering I'm pretty sure he's had a couple games where he's had like 50 hitouts in the VFL.
I think he'll go okay in a couple of years, but I just don't think we've seen enough of him at either level to make a call. But worst case, best case D, worst case, it's too soon. Campbell Gray, obviously missing now with the knee issue, which is annoying. But the games he has played at AFL level, he's looked at the level, hasn't he? Like, he's not looked out of place.
Yeah. No, look, I think you got to put him in C because, I mean, technically he's getting a consistent game. It's just when they decide to let Noah Bolter out of his house is when he's not allowed to play. But, I mean, he actually has been really, really solid for the Tigers. He hasn't really put a bad foot forward. So I'm happy with C on that one as well.
Yeah, I like him. It's where do you keep fitting him all in? It's the hard question.
Yeah.
Josh Gibcus, I think we've still got to just leave him here at the moment.
It's a good call.
I've got everything crossed for him, and it was really, really promising to see the reports from Ben Serple that he's traveling really, really well, and he should be back in a few weeks too, playing some type of football. I'm super keen to see him get AFL games into him by the end of the year, and I know we don't like to gift games as a normal rule of thumb. I would almost make the exception for him just so he gets belief back in himself and his body that he can do it at the level. And he's obviously been through a fair bit of shit the last 2 years. And I think he just needs to know that he can still do it at the level. And I'm not saying to give him 4 games, but even if it's the last 1 or 2, hopefully we can see him get some good footy in.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
But when he's playing, I think he's someone who can genuinely end up in an A.
Yeah. Well, you really hope so, but I mean, it is so soon to tell right now with Gibcus. I mean, missing what's it? How many years has it been now? Like, wasn't he? I think he was out it was his second season that he missed, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and then third season he played 2 games.
Yep, and then gone.
Yeah, decapitated his knee in 18 different places. And then this year he's going to miss probably most of the year as well.
Yeah.
So we don't know who Josh Gibcus is anymore, and that's going to be what we're really going to have to find out. Hopefully at season end, but
yeah,
I don't know. I still just don't know. I hope they don't rush him, and I would almost be inclined to say we'll wait till next year. But I think a part of them wants him to play end of year because he should be ready by now.
They definitely do, and I think the moment they start putting timeframes on returns, it would be bloody cruel to say, "Oh, he can play in 3 to 5 weeks, but we're not going to play him." I think that would just cripple him mentally, and I don't think it would do him or the club any good. So, I've got no doubt he will play in some capacity, but just because he's not playing yet, we can't put him anywhere.
Yeah, no, we can't.
Kane McAuliffe, who really annoyingly is an omission from this week's game with a thigh issue. I'm not sure if he got a corky or what the go was. I've really liked what he's been doing since coming back to the AFL side.
Yeah, no, I'd put him in C tier. I think he's actually been really good. He's improved on a lot of the little things that people didn't like a part of his game last year. And I mean, I think if it depends on who you ask, but like if you were to say, this guy was a 3rd rounder or whatever, right? They would say, oh yeah, he'll just be an average player in the AFL. But if he was doing what he was doing right now and you were to tell people, oh yeah, he was like a top 5 pick, would people be more inclined to say that he could actually be a really good player in the AFL? Because he's not really doing anything wrong. It's just we don't know where he's going to go. And that's what's going to be really fun about watching him play and the development he's going to, hopefully have.
Agree. And I think it's been tricky for him trying to fit into that midfield with Taranto, Hopper, and now Prestia getting so many minutes. And then obviously Ross was as well. But I think he adds a bit of a point of difference, being the left footer. He's explosive. He was hitting his targets a bit more towards the last game or two. And doing it all, like what impressed me the most is he's getting 18 to 22 touches off about 65 to 70% game time, which is extraordinarily low. So I'm like, well, what's he going to be like when we can get him to 80% game time, like what Taranto and Hopper get? Like, could he be a 25 to 30 disposal midfielder on occasions?
And it's cool that they seem to have trust in him as well, because I think he's usually been like the first player to go in that inside midfield when a Prestia, Hopper, or Taranto has a rest. And when you think about it, they're putting him in before they're putting Sonsi in, who's on like year 5 or whatever. They're putting him in before they're putting Ross in now, which is crazy. Even Sam Lawler, who's the pick 1, yes, he's got a lot of room to develop, but he was drafted as a midfielder, and Kane McAuliffe, who's only on his 2nd year, is actually also getting put in before him. So they've got trust in Kane McAuliffe to be a good player. He's just going to put it together now, and more games will help with that.
100%. He's looked comfortable at the level since playing, so I'm excited to see where he goes.
Yeah.
Tyler Young, he's just obviously come back from his knee injury. He's probably too early to rank, do you reckon? I mean, he's still in that recovery phase. I think he's probably he's up. I think his contract's up this year.
Yeah, he could be one of the unlucky ones to miss, I reckon.
Is it cruel to do? I know football's a business, but we've just nursed him through a full year of recovery and then delist him. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, someone's got to be delisted, and other than Jacob Bauer, I don't know, who else they're going to go with. And, as you said, we've got pick 2 and 3 at the time we're doing this, and we've got Callaway as well. So that's going to be 3 players right there who they're going to want to bring in. They also, I don't think we've hit the rookie draft in a couple years, and we haven't signed someone other than Kosicki in a couple years. So I don't know. It's a lot harder than Richmond fans think. There are a lot of Richmond fans who flat out just think we're going to delist Samson, Ryan, and Kosicki when Kosicki's got another year left. And does Samson Ryan have 2 more years left? It's something.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be 2 years.
So
yeah.
They're not going anywhere anytime.
And Phonics, just to clarify, Cozzy's still contracted as well, so he's another one that's not going to get listed as is Samson
won't get
Ryan.
delisted.
So pretty much for me, the candidates are probably. Yeah, there might be a retirement or 2 that happen, but Jacob Bauer, I don't know who else might go.
I think Sonsy's in a bit of hot water for sure.
I think where we might lose players is by trade. I think it's. I agree with you. I actually think we're in a difficult spot when it comes to delistings. But obviously, Kalina might be in a bit of hot water. Young, I don't know. I think Young's worth persevering with personally. I think he was showing some good signs before he hurt himself. But I reckon it's going to come down to players wanting more opportunity, which is where we might find the list spots opening up. It's funny because last year, it was easy. You got Cumberland, there was Coulthard, you're like, that all makes sense. But this year, it's like, don't know.
Yeah, and you don't want to push out
could be a trade as well.
Easy. Yeah, everyone's talking about Blight being traded to like a Western Australian team. Do you know who's like the king of getting cheap players in as well, in my opinion? Gone a little bit under the radar. I reckon Sydney could really use a guy like Jacob Blight. I think they might be looking at a new key forward, and there is no reason Sydney, I think it was either Tom Morris or Cal Toomey, I think it was Tom Morris on SCN, said they're going to be hitting free agency in the trade period big. So there's no reason they won't offer like a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick up for Blight, which would actually help us match Callaway. So
that's right. They would solve that issue. Yeah, interesting. 2 more to go. Steely Green.
I think both of these guys go into the C tier. I think they're in a very similar boat where they're like the 18 to 20 in the 18 to 23 men on the list right now.
Yeah.
But something about Caleb Smith is doing something to me. Like when I say Sydney Sweeney, there's something about there's something going on. I don't know. Caleb Smith, I was like a D1 hater at the start of the year, and I think he's actually playing okay.
He's not doing much wrong. It's just where does he fit in the mix, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if he could have a Seth Campbell level glow up next year.
That'd be something special if he did.
Yeah, but Steely Green, in my opinion, I don't think he has it. I think Steely Green is one of those players who is possibly lying about his height too. I think he's like 175 or 176. I don't reckon he's that tall. I think he struggles in a lot of different facets of the game. I don't know if he's overall quick either. Like, he just doesn't seem that quick as a small forward.
Yeah, and not hitting the scoreboard much. I know he does a lot of good pressure stuff, but at some point we need to kick some goals. And this is why I like Jasper Alger, because he can take the marks that Green doesn't take and kick the goals that Green doesn't kick. But
but is he ready?
Well, no, I hope he is, but it's also that's why I also try and acknowledge the fact that the ball probably doesn't. The way the ball enters our forward line and the way or the amount of times it's marked by position probably doesn't help Steely Green a hell of a lot.
No, that was a very fair point you brought up earlier, actually, that I wasn't really even thinking about.
Yeah, I think we'll get a better view on him next year when everything's a bit more settled. But, I mean, you can tell Uze and the club clearly like him and want to persevere with him. They obviously like what he brings to the team. So, but there we go. That is all the players done. So that is the updated list, folks. So the ones in green or turquoise, whatever color I've used there, they're the ones who have moved up a spot. The 2 in pink are the ones who have regressed a spot, and then everyone else has stayed the same. So, a few jumps. We've obviously got some that are leaning closer towards the next tier than the others. But, it's actually good to see the C tier fill up, because that kind of reflects where we're at with the development cycle as well. 100%. And the next progression is to see some of these guys move into the B tier, which would obviously strengthen us substantially.
I think if you asked us last time that we did this, if we'd get this many players moving up, we would have probably called you crazy. But that is just the season that we're having right now has been pretty good. Like, I would have thought there would have been some guys who would have, possibly a couple more that may have moved down, like Camden McIntosh, Thompson Dow. I didn't think I had them staying in that C tier. I thought they would have been guys who would have moved down. Prestia, I think, would have been a guy who probably would have moved down. But no, a lot of people have kept their spot and a lot of people have jumped up. So honestly, really, if this doesn't tell you this is a lot of good sign for Tiger fans right now, I don't know what there is to tell you.
And then by the end of the year, when we do it again postseason, there's a solid chance that players like Harry Armstrong, Blight if he gets some games, Alger if he gets some games, like there could be 3 or 4 more that maybe force their way into the C spot as well. And even it's not beyond the realms that someone like Gibcus or Houghton could get AFL game time and force their way into the C category either, which is, it's exciting because, it really does tie into where we're at from a developmental point of view. But I suppose the next big leap to show really good signs of progression is when some of these guys start to enter the A category. That's when you start, I think, bridging the gap between the next lot of teams and winning that 8 to 10 game mark.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, hopefully when we get back into being a premiership team contention, you're going to see that B tier, I think, really filled up. There'll hopefully be like 12 players in that A tier, 12 players in the B tier, or even more in the A tier. That's what makes a good team, a good team. So we'll hopefully see that as the years start to progress. This list, I think, will change a hell of a lot.
Yeah, exactly right. Before I let you go, someone's asked for your opinion on Widescreen's asked, what do you rate Uze's coaching?
Well, I actually, funnily enough, you know how you have like a community page on your channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to use that as of late, and I put out a little post saying I actually shook Adam Uze's hand the other night, which was so random. Yeah, which was so random. I posted about it and it got like over 30 likes. It's the most liked post, I think, on my community tab. But basically, I was at my friend's game who plays for the Stingrays, and my best mate, who's his brother, just said to me, that guy's got a big nose behind you. And I didn't realize he said that taking the piss for me to look. And I look at this guy with a big nose, and it's freaking Adam Uze just sitting like right behind me. I just looked at him like, why would you do that to me? And I never go up to I never go up to anyone at the footy or anything, but I was just like, you know what? The amount of shit this guy has copped, I just felt like going up to him. I just said to him, look, I don't really want to disturb you. Like in my head, I'm like, I hate doing this, but I just said, I really like what you've been doing. I think you've been doing an exceptional job. And that's all I said to him. And he put his hand out to handshake me and just said, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah. Well, it was funny. His wife saw me coming. She knew straight away. Her eyes like looked at me and she had the big smile, and I could tell in her head, she's like, oh shit.
You're like, he's either going to cop a spray from this bloke, or he's just going to try and sit down next to him and have a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah, genuinely 5-second conversation. Like you said,
that's good though. He was acknowledged it and shook. Yeah, that's nice. That's
and he was super under. Yeah, he was at his son was playing for the opposition team.
Right.
They were playing Oakley. Yeah, so he was watching his son play. And he was super nonchalant, as you would be.
Yeah.
So
he's just a person at the end of the day, isn't he? He's just another random out there watching his kid play footy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've sat near like so many AFL players at like things like this, and never have I ever thought, you know what, I'm gonna go shake this guy's hand. But there you go. That's my response to the question. Is I think Uze's doing a really good job. So much so that I wanted to shake his hand.
I like it. I think he is too. Well, that's a wrap for the tier list tonight. Thank you, mate, for jumping back on. I really appreciate your insight. It's good fun doing these ones, and we'll pencil in another time for the end of the season and see if we have any more people jump up into the A list. But hopefully everyone enjoyed that. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and for dropping some comments in the chat as well. Make sure you get around Centre Half Bench, Jordan's channel. He's hit 10,000 subs, but he is absolutely flying at the moment, so make sure you get around him. Does drop the Tiger content as well, so it's another Tiger space amongst other bits and pieces, which was good.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, mate. Thank you again. And we'll see you for the end of the season one.
100%. We're gonna run this back, I reckon.
That's it. Hopefully we've got a few more wins to talk about as well.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, guys. Until next time, go Tigers. And hopefully we get a win on Sunday. Or just be competitive. Anything like that would be wonderful.
Anything. Not a 7-point loss.
No. See you later, guys.